Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Woodmere Estate Revival. I'm down here on the property today by myself. Amber and the boys have taken off for a family engagement up north, and so I'm going to be working around the house today by myself. My dad may come by after a while and he's going to lend a hand, but I've got some equipment here today on loan from our contractors so I can get some work done around this place. Behind me is the old enclosure for the hot tub. It's poured concrete with a sandstone veneer over top of it, and so we had very little ability to get that ripped out without some heavy equipment. I mean, I could have stood in there and beat on that thing with a sledgehammer for 8 hours and maybe broke out a couple of the sides, but it's got a big poured slab underneath and everything else, so there's no way I was going to be able to get all that tore out without some equipment. So thankfully the contractor was nice enough to loan me the mini excavator and the skid steer, and I've got a hydraulic breaker attachment for the skid steer. I'm going to be using that to break the walls down and break the slab up, and then I'll use the mini excavator to scoop all that out, and then we'll get it loaded up with a skid steer and put it in the dumpster. So it's going to be a lot of work here, but thankfully we've got some heavy equipment to make the job easier. After that's complete, going to head inside and get some work done on the flooring. We've got the contractor heading into the house next week to do some repairs to the flooring. So I've got to get the last little bit of floor out by the back door and in the bathroom right off the back door, and there's a little bit of masonry left right there next to the fireplace where we saw cut the opening through the old wood box and demoed that so that we can have an opening into the office. So I've got to get that last little bit of masonry tore out of there, make ready for all the new framing that's going to happen next week. Exciting stuff. Things are moving at a pretty good pace right now. We are so pleased to see some real activity going on here at the house, not just from us doing demo day in and day out. So hang out with me today, and we're going to get started here in a second, and we'll see what we can get accomplished. Well, so far so good. Right now I'm sitting in the mini excavator, and I've been working over around the what we've been calling the fire pit, but it was the old hot tub enclosure. It was poured up out of concrete and covered with sandstone to kind of match the rest of the wall. So I've been working with the mini excavator, digging out around it, pulling all the dirt and old bricks and stuff out from away from the edges, and that way I can get in there and get to all the concrete and everything with the skid steer here in just a little bit. I'll pull in and use the breaker on that and break it into little bits. So that's the plan right now. Let me show you where we're working. So you can see just outside this rain-covered window here, there's the fire pit or hot tub enclosure. And I'm working along the south wall right now, digging down along it, pulling out all the old dirt, bricks, and everything away from the edge so I can get to the very edge of the slab that this thing was poured on. Dumping all the dirt over here, and there right next to me you can see the ditch running out through the house and the pool in front of me there. I'm being really careful to stay away from the edge of the ditch with all the rain that we've had here recently. I don't know how soft it is, and last thing I want to do is tip the mini excavator over into the house. That would not be good. So we're going to keep working here, keep digging this out, and I'll check back in with you guys in a little bit. So I just ran in the house to grab something real quick and realized that I don't hear any water running in the drain box inside the crawl space here in the living room. It's been pouring the rain, and everything is just really saturated out back. Before they dug out the foundation and diverted the water away from the house, every time it rained, there would be a constant stream of water running through here, and you could hear it over in the drain box underneath the flooring over there. So, I mean, that's amazing. Just diverting the water away from the back of the house has already started to dry this place out. Couldn't be happier. And we're seeing the same thing back on the back of the house. Ordinarily, every time it rained, there would have been an increase, a dramatic increase in the amount of water under the house here. Now you can still see a little bit of ponding water right there, but that has been diminishing. It has been getting lower and lower. You can see where the water used to lay. And over here against the foundation wall, every time it rained, this always filled up with water. And right now you can see it's just mud. So it has already decreased the water penetration into the house just by having a ditch around it. Even though we don't have the drain in place or any of the other measures to mitigate the water, it has already decreased the amount of water coming to the house. This place is drying out. Very exciting stuff. So I got the pins broke loose on the skid steer. They were kind of locked in there. Had to apply the cheater pipe so I could get the pins loose to swap the buckets out. I got to drop the loader bucket here, and then I've got the breaker sitting on the back of my truck down there. So we'll get this thing dropped off and then head down there and get that picked up frondle it down behind the house through all that mud and start working on the hot tub enclosure. All right, so here we go. We got the hydraulic breaker attached to the front of the skid steer. Wasn't too bad. Once I got those pins broke loose on the bucket, it was pretty easy. Just had to pull up to the truck and ever so gently get lined up here without running the skid steer into the tailgate and kinking the back of the truck. So I got it hooked up, got the hydraulic lines hooked up, and we're going to see if we can put this thing into action, start breaking up that hot tub enclosure. So the skid steer, unfortunately, didn't work. The hydraulic controls on the top of the right joystick must be shorted out, or the switch is bad or something. So here we are using a sledgehammer to beat this thing into submission. A lot of fun, ain't it, Dad?
Yes, sir, but it's going.
It's going.
Yes.
So
victory is almost ours.
that just took about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes with a sledgehammer, beating it from the inside here, and it came out pretty decent. So we'll keep wearing away on this thing a little bit. I think if we can get the sides out, then we might be able to bring the machine over here and use the bucket on it to pull the corners.
Yeah. There we go. And now the rain is beginning to start again. That's just great.
Yay.
Yay, rain. Good deal. Maybe all that heat of that hot water in that hot tub helped loosen that mortar bond a little bit. I'm betting on
weight. Got a crack all the way across here.
Good. I'm betting on the fire. The corner's pretty tight.
Crack's opening up a little bit. I'd
Good.
say maybe I'll put the bucket of the tractor on there, or the excavator.
Yeah.
Turn that out.
I think we can do this.
All right, I'm gonna work on this. Watch out for flying objects.
All right. You want me to? Josh, you fit the Battle of Jericho, and the walls coming tumbling down. Good reason for safety glasses.
Yep, I've got some crap flying. Good cardiovascular exercise.
Yeah, as well as a frustration release.
There we go.
Oh, you're cooking.
Sorry about that.
The camera's going to get wet here in a second.
Yep. Woo.
Good?
Break time.
Okay.
This thing was poured in place, and then I made that lid and set all the pump and all the other stuff down in there, and slid that lid in place.
Keep these tiles.
Yeah, just in case. Feel like you're opening a crypt or something.
Yeah. Maybe that's where all the treasure's hidden.
Oh, we could hope. Nope. Nothing. Well, that's disappointing.
Probably one swat and break that up.
Yeah.
And this is starting to crack. There shouldn't be much holding this together.
Yeah, there's not much to it.
Well, we'll just attack that from within.
Come down right on top of it. Probably rebar.
Might be good for a big share of crap.
There you go. Sandstone explodes nicely. chase all the snakes out.
Wear safety glasses.
Yep. Crap really flies. There it goes. Goes your veneer.
Yeah.
Probably got 2 or 3 pieces of rebar in that.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. I think might be a lintel.
Lintel.
Yeah. I think there's something under it.
That'll slow you down. There you go. Yep, rebar. Hello.
Piece of re-rod.
There you go. Yeah, there's 1 piece of rebar. No lintel.
I think this corner will go with your machine.
Okay. We'll get over here and pull on it.
Trying to get this slab out of the back of what used to be the hot tub, and once we crack through, it looks like we might have a little bit of concrete and then maybe just gravel behind it. Maybe that's just a teaser. We'll soon find out. There we go.
Oh, loose stuff in there. Looks like demolition debris.
Still didn't want to give up though.
No. More of the same.
More of the same. I bet they just got
Crushed concrete and chunks of sandstone. Piece of rebar right there.
well, it makes sense instead of just filling it up full of good stuff, just throw your crap back there and then go ahead and put a stone cap on it and wish it well.
Giving Dad a turn at the wall now. Catch my breath. Just more loose fill, huh?
Yep. More of the same. Not even a snake.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that stuff's tough.
Yeah, the top is fairly solid.
Hoping it cracked, but it
Should.
what a crack.
There she goes. Loosening up now.
Yeah. As long as I don't see anything looking back at me.
Found all kinds of lovely fill in there. Now we broke into a layer of those big old pavers, sandwiched together with concrete. Just whatever they could find to throw in there, I guess. If we get that whole thing to buckle, you might be able to get a hold of it with the machine there and pull it out separate from the wall, maybe. All right, let's see. Take that. It's got room to go now.
Yes, sir. Yes, now we're okay. Good deal. Now you're back to your original wall. I'd be able to hook that with the machine. That will be
Man, it's a good workout. Yeah, I think it, oh yeah, it's gonna be fine.
Don't see concrete on it.
Nope. That'll clean up nicely.
Even better. It should clean up.
Woo!
Quit.
Man, what a workout.
Quit.
Yeah. Alright, so we're back in the machine and we are using this now to tear the last of that corner out over there. Let's see if I can operate this thing with one hand here. How about that? This whole thing busted loose. Dad's over there picking up pieces, trying to get that stuff out of the way. See what's left down there. I think we're pretty much down to the footer in the back. What do you think, Dad?
That's the corner of the slab right there where you see that notch.
Yeah.
It looks like it's got some rough against the back, but that's the corner. It looks like the corner of the bottom slab.
Okay. Anything else we can break out with the bucket at this point, you think, or that's about it?
I think you've pretty well got everything. But you might be more success, but I think you've got the corners pretty well out.
Okay. Might see if we can reach over and pull some of that other piece this way.
Yeah.
Okay. Making pretty good progress just using the mini excavator and a lot of brute force sledgehammer work. The bricks aren't giving up too easy. Everything's kind of mortared together in the back there. And then you got these poured concrete walls. We just had to smash those. But you got rebar sticking up everywhere. And you got a poured concrete slab that it's all anchored to. The rebar goes down into the slab. So I don't know how much more of this we're going to be able to get, but we're giving it a valiant effort here, and we got a lot done considering we didn't have much to work with. I think ultimately we're going to have a jackhammer to use on the slab, break it up into pieces, and then peel it out of there with the excavator. So I'll talk with our contractor buddies and see if they can bring us an electric jackhammer that we can use next week to knock this out. But we're getting close. Bring the skid steer over here soon and just start loading this stuff up in it. Dumping it in the dumpster. So it's really pouring the rain now. I mean, it is unbelievable. The back of the house is turning into soup. So this is probably the last run I'm going to make through there. I just barely got the skid steer out. I'll dump this load and then turn around and show you what we're dealing with. It's a mess. So I just got the next load dumped and I'm sitting here in the skid steer trying to stay dry. The rain is pouring down. Yeah, I mean, it's just, the backyard is just trashed right now. So I think we're going to probably call it quits for this evening, and hopefully things will dry out a little bit over the next day or so. We'll be able to get back in there and get the last of the debris out of the hot tub area. Let me show you the backyard right now. So, I mean, it's just soupy. You know, this clay and everything that the guys have been breaking loose, and, you know, where they've been knocking down the elevation of the patio area, it's just gotten real loose. And then, of course, you mix all this rain with it, and you can see the downspouts have come loose because they were hooked into, you know, the drains below the level of the ground there. And so when they, you know, dug everything out, of course, they fell loose, and so they're just shooting water down onto the ground and down into the trench. But the road that we were using here to get back and forth is just soupy. I almost didn't get it out there last time, and so we're going to call it quits for the day and park the machine, and, you know, probably head inside and do some work inside instead. So we're taking a break from all of that muddy mess out there, and coming in here to pull up the bathroom floor. This is where the pink toilet came from. If you remember, it was sitting in the shower when we bought the house, because the floor had kind of collapsed around the toilet. These geniuses had kind of let the floor rot away, and so it just fell apart. So we're taking the tile up, and then I don't think the wood's going to put up much of a struggle. But the guys are coming in next week to start cutting out and replacing these joists. So we got to get all this stuff out of here so they can get to work. So we're taking the bar and just getting underneath the edge of the mortar bed and prying up, popping up in pretty good sheets. That's a big one.
Yeah, well, we have to break that in half.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
Couldn't be happier with the way it's coming out. I'm not real trusting of this floor.
No. Don't have time to fish you out of the crawl space today.
Hard telling what's down there.
Might be eyes, teeth.
Rocky raccoon.
Yeah.
That's coming up pretty good.
That is. I thought this was going to be a real struggle. But
I had my concerns that it was going to be 2 inches thick and had reinforcing wire in it, but thankfully.
sometimes they would put wire down, and that would have made the job a lot harder.
All right, good deal.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Well, that about wraps up this episode of Woodmere Estate Revival. It has been a soggy, sloppy, nasty day, and we still got a lot done. You know, we had some setbacks. We rented a piece of equipment from Sunbelt, a hydraulic breaker that mounted on the front of a skid steer, but unfortunately the controls that activate the hydraulic breaker are broken. And I didn't know that, and so I got the skid steer fired up this morning, dropped the bucket off, got the hydraulic breaker attached to it, hooked up the hydraulic lines, got everything going and got in it, and all of a sudden, you know, there's this beeping, and I look up and it's throwing an error message. And I looked up in the manual what that is, and it's the front hydraulic control switch on the right hand grip that actually activates the breaker. So unbeknownst to me, those hydraulic controls were not working, and unfortunately we couldn't use the hydraulic breaker. So I'm going to have to go back to the folks at Sunbelt and beg for a refund. So my dad and I just decided to man up and take the sledgehammer and go out there and just use brute force and just bash that thing. And so we did. We bashed and smashed and did everything we could. We used the mini excavator to pull part of it apart, and finally got to the point where we got most of it down to ground level. The only thing that's really left at this point is the slab and a couple little pieces sticking up on the side. So we are going to have to use at least an electric jackhammer to break up the slab, and then we'll be able to take the mini excavator and use the bucket and get the rest of those pieces up out of there. You can hear the rain behind me, and you can hear the downspout drain just dumping that rain down into the area there by the footer where they dug out, excavated along the foundation. The great thing is with that water diverted away from the house, there's not anything coming into the crawl space today. So the drain in the crawl space is not running. There's no sign of water inside the crawl space, so that's very exciting. We finally got as much done as we could. Almost got the skid steer hung up behind the house, so took one more load to the dumpster. And then my dad and I came inside and we started working on the bathroom floor. There was a tile floor in here, and so we used the roto hammer, and then we used the pry bar and mini sledgehammer, big sledgehammer, and finally pried all that stuff out of there. Got it down to the subfloor, and so the only thing we have to do at this point is pop up those pieces of subfloor to get it ready for the folks to come in and repair the floor joists. We do have one more section of parquet floor that I'm standing on now, and we're going to save that to last to take that out and get that section finished. Let's take a look and see what all we got accomplished today. So this is what the bathroom looks like. Right here, this crumpled mess, that's the lead floor pan that was underneath the shower. Back in the day, that was real common. They used lead pans. They worked great, but that thing had a bazillion nails in it, and it was nailed all the way around here. Even with that lead pan, unfortunately, the tile began to fail at some point, and you can see over in the corner there, that board is actually rotted out. Actually, several boards are rotted out right down there where they went down and attached to the sill plate there. So there was definitely some water damage, and right here, you can't see it now, it's gone, but the curb that kept the water from coming out of the shower, that thing was completely rotten too. So water was getting through the tile, the grout job had failed, and the shower itself was rotting. You can see there's some significant damage over in this corner over here. They let the toilet, I guess, leak for 20 years, and it just rotted the floor away. And finally, the tile basically just collapsed. So, you know, just a lot of neglect and a lot of wear and tear, unfortunately. So we got all the tile out. It's piled up over here. It really came up in big sections. You know, we used the pry bar and sledgehammer and pried the pieces up in big sections. We got it stacked out here. When it's not pouring the rain, I mean, it is absolutely just... Yeah, see for yourself. I mean, it is absolutely just pouring. And this back area is now a sea of mud. So when it quits, we'll bring the skid steer over here and we'll stick the bucket right here, and we'll just throw all this stuff into the bucket. Let's take a walk through the house, and we'll go out and take a peek into the backyard there so we can see what we got done on the hot tub enclosure. And again, I was hoping to have the whole thing torn out. I was hoping to have the floor done. I was hoping to be able to go out and, you know, start working on the driveway and the slab that the guest house was built on. Had all kinds of plans, but unfortunately I spent half the day trying to get the skid steer to make that hydraulic breaker work, and that didn't work. So then we spent the rest of the time actually just using brute force to knock that thing out of there and getting it loaded up. So again, it's pouring the rain, but let's take a quick peek over there. Trudge through the mud here one more time. This ditch is running wide open. All this water coming out of the gutters and coming out of the foundation drain. It's got that thing running. So this is what's left of the hot tub enclosure. So you got a little bit of the wall sticking up in a few places. It didn't break off like we were hoping it would. You can see these vertical pieces of rebar. Those things I think are actually set down in the slab and are anchoring the sidewalls in place. I mean, they really overbuilt this thing. It was like a bunker. I've never seen so much concrete to hold a hot tub in place, but whatever, it never failed, I guess. So last thing I said, you know, we got to get the jackhammer in here and break up the last of this stuff, and then we'll be able to haul it off. The exciting thing was that once we got it broken away from the wall, you can see the wall's a little bit discolored just from where it's been covered up. There's roots and stuff on it, but the rock wall itself is in really good shape. So that's very exciting. We're going to end up, you know, power washing and cleaning the entire wall so it all looks the same. So once we do that and kind of brush some of the loose mortar and stuff off of it, that area is going to look great. Again, you can see the muddy mess that the backyard has turned into. So again, we're wrapping up here for the day. It's pouring the rain again. Really sucks. I'm already soaked to the bone, so whatever. I'm going to stand out here for a minute to do this wrap up. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. Please be sure to hit that subscription button so you don't miss a single episode of Woodmere Estate Revival. Be sure also to hit the like button. Please feel free to leave comments or questions in the section below. And whatever you do, share this channel with your friends and family. We have really enjoyed sharing this this project with everybody. I mean, we're just getting started. We've done 6 months worth of demolition, but we're still just getting started. So lots of cool stuff to come. Hang out with us, and we'll be back again real soon with another episode. Thanks a lot. Take care.